All right, I think we'll get started from here. Let's zoom out, look at Bitcoin. Well, actually, the weekly candle just closed, right? So we'll take a look at the weekly. So weekly, zoom out even more. Delete this. Delete some of these. Actually, yeah. All right, so weekly chart. Um, not too much to go over since our last weekly analysis. I think Friday. Main thing, just want to zoom in on this weekly candle. Nice bullish hammer on the weekly. So um, long term still looks pretty good, you know, and assuming we can break above this all-time high supply zone. And then from that point, you're looking at, one second. Could you please take a look at XMR BTC? Yep. So long term, you can fib any of these regions. I think obviously the most apparent one, sorry, let me go full screen. The most obvious one is, why is this going on? All right. The most obvious fib is the all-time high to 3.1K low, which gives us a long-term target of 30K, right? So assuming, we can break above this all-time high supply zone, close some weekly candles above it, maybe even retest it on the weekly, that's a pretty nice long-term target, that 30K region. And then obviously, we break that 47K, we break that 63K, just taking it fib by fib, really. As for like a shorter term analysis, there's a bunch of different things that you could do a fib draw on, right? So we'll delete this and let's see if this fib gets us anything. Right, so that's actually a perfect fib draw. The 13.8K from all the way back in March of 2019, or I'm sorry, May of 2019, down to our COVID low in March of 2020, gives us a fib 1.618 at basically exactly what this taps. So 20,050, and then this came up to 19.9. So pretty nice fib draw, and then obviously you could use these fibs as well. That actually lines up pretty nicely with the previous fib. So we'll go back. Let's draw this out really quick. So back to this fib. What's going on here? There we go. So back to that fib. What is going on here? Sorry, guys. That lines up extremely well, right? So you have the 1.618 is 30,200, and then the 2.618 of this fib was 30,000, what, 30 or 60 or something like that. So pretty clean, nice, or lines up nicely, lots of confluence. So that's a good target overall. And that's a much longer term target, right? So we're looking at very long drawn out fibs on our weekly time frame. We're zooming out a year ago to find these fib targets. So these are long term targets for price action if Bitcoin enters price discovery once again, right? And then, of course, we have a shorter term target. I like to use this 12.3K to 9.8K drop. So essentially hold on, wait, let me see. Okay. Essentially, this is the ideal top for this up move, right? So if you're looking at the daily chart, you're looking at the daily chart, you have low, high, low, high, low, high, right? So essentially, this fib is significant because that's our most recent high to low structure on the daily. Okay, so I like to use that fib, and that essentially would say, you know, the 4.236, which lines up at 21.1K, that's a nice target for this up move, right? So this up move here, that's a nice target overall. And actually, ideally, this would be the local top of this up move, ideally speaking. Okay, right? We break that, we go to our 6.85, which is 28K, 28.1, right? So um, that's that for this up move entirely. Okay, and then zooming in even further, even more local fibs. So I'll keep this 4.236 one up of that 12.3K to 9.8K move. I'll keep that up because it actually lines up pretty nicely with some other fib draws we have. So there's a couple options here. I think this one at the moment is the most relevant. Right. So basically what this is saying is assuming this is our local, well, this is our local high, and assuming that this is the local low, like the bottom is in of this up move, um, the 1.618 of this move should be a nice shorter term target, right? This is much more local price action. We're looking at price action that just happened 2 weeks ago, as opposed to the 4.236. That move was all the way back a couple months ago, right? So our high time frame target lines up nicely with our low time frame target, which is, it's just nice. It's nice to have all that confluence, all in generally the same region, and telling you, expect some sort of resistance here, right? And then obviously, this could very well just break straight through and just head to the next fib. You play it level by level. So I would say anticipate resistance and look for a pullback. And if you don't get that resistance, then look for your, target your next fib. This isn't to say, even though the 4.236 is ideally the local top, right, for any market. Even though that is the ideal local top, that isn't to say that it's going to top out if it comes to 21.1K. All right. So much different, um, context there. It's kind of just a nice target for price action. Okay. As far as our 4-hour market structure, so we'll get rid of the fibs. We talked about fibs enough. Okay. As for our 4-hour market structure, right? When you're looking at this, you have this consolidation, right? So we had consolidation, then we had the breakdown, right? So at this point, we got a lower low. Okay. Then we followed up with a lower high, right? So here in this move, our market structure on the 4-hour is now bearish. Okay. So that's confirmed. So from here, you anticipate lower lows, lower highs until that breaks. You get your lower low again, right? So 4-hour market structure is still bearish. Now you follow up with a higher high. Okay, so you still need a higher low on your 4-hour, which this could very well count. Some people will count this as your 4-hour low. Some people won't. I would say it's not. I would say it's more of a 1-hour low. It's context. It's how you look at it. It's your experience and what you see as an individual. Personally, I would like to see a much deeper, 4-hour test of a higher low, and then continuation of that trend. But either way you look at it, we did get a higher high. Okay, so we put in the first step into breaking our market structure bullishly once again, right? So similar to back here, right? So if we're just looking at this price action, you have the exact same concept, right? Where your market structure is bullish, then you get a lower low. Okay, so you put in the first step of your market structure breaking bearish. Okay, so now if you follow up with a lower high on your 4-hour, you now have a confirmed bearish market structure. So essentially, price needs to go from here to here all in one move in order to maintain your market structure bullish. Okay. And that just so happened to be exactly what we got. Right. So you got to be careful. Even though we did get the first step in breaking our market structure, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to break. Right. Because this could very well top out here. We got our test of the all-time high supply zone again, right? So this could very well be the top, and we just simply plummet, back into this demand and maybe even below it and whatever else. So you got to be cautious. So until you really see, you know, and again, it depends. You could count this as a 4-hour low and say, okay, our market structure is bullish again on the 4-hour, or if we do get pullback and then we do form a nice low there. Until you see that, you got to be careful. All right. Um, so with that, let's jump into the 1-hour. I gotta renew. I gotta buy the TradingView Pro again. With the 1-hour, we have price trading above 1-hour 200 MAs, clear bullish market structure, right? This is higher highs, higher lows, right? So break in market structure, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Okay, so now if you're zooming in on a lower time frame, like your 15-minute or something, you're seeing consolidation. Um, lower highs, higher lows, right? So our 15 minutes consolidating, right? And so it's either going to expand upwards into this supply zone, or it'll expand downwards. We lose the 15-minute 200 MAs maybe. And we see that pullback into our long entry. Our long entry is like around here, right? So we're trying to buy this region, and that's just simply buying this demand as well as buying the 1-hour 200 MAs. Okay, with a stop loss below this wick, I believe. So our setup looks something like this. And then we're targeting, I want to say we're targeting that 21.3K fib. Okay, so uh, right, so that's the idea there. We want to buy this demand zone. So that was just our entry box, but the actual demand zone looks a little something like this. Right, so we're trying to buy the demand zone, trying to front run the 200 MAs, and trying to get in on the next dip if that consolidation does break down, right? Because then we would speculate that that would be the higher low on the 4-hour that we're looking for, right? So we're looking for that higher low still on the 4-hour, unless you count this already, you say we already got it. We are looking for that dip, pullback, potentially even retest this 4-hour demand zone, and then potentially head back up into this weekly supply and maybe even a bigger breakout. Okay. Next, I want to talk about dominance. So dominance, 4-hour is mainly what I wanted to talk about, but we'll start zoomed out as we always do. Right. So dominance, I've been saying it day in, day out. Be careful on dominance. We just talked about market structures and how they can put in the first step, but then invalidate it in the next step and not give you that confirmation, right? So in order for your market structure to be confirmed, whether it's bearish or bullish, if it's bearish, you need a lower you need a lower high and a lower low, right? And it can be either order. Or if it's bullish, you need a higher high and a higher low in either order, right? So you need both of those to have a confirmed market structure. right? And if you're getting a mixture of either one, so higher lows with lower highs or vice versa, you have consolidation, right? It's that simple. So with this move being a lower low, you still don't have that lower high yet on your daily. So even though this has broken down significantly, you know, it's not trading bearish just yet. So you have to be careful. This could very well reverse and head straight back up to this high. You know, so you have to be careful. And with that, it's also at support. 62 is a nice daily demand zone, right? So it acted as support and resistance multiple times prior. So we expect that to continue. And it also retested the 200 daily moving averages. Okay, so essentially the analysis was if you break your 4 hour, which was trending bearish, if you break that bullish, you're at risk to see that move up again on your daily time frame. Right. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Okay. So we have to be cautious with alts. And you know, I've been talking to all the analysts at SP. They are being cautious with what altcoins they are sending out, especially Bitcoin pairing alts. So everyone's aware of this. We're playing it very cautiously, um, and it's for a good reason, right? So these have reclaimed their 4 hour 200 MAs on for Bitcoin dominance. Okay, so now that does open up the gate for this to reverse pretty hard. Okay, so everyone is being very cautious until we see that dominance break down again. You need to play it safe. Really, you need to be aware of how much exposure you have to the altcoin market, right? And so obviously take this with a grain of salt because dominance chart, it's weird. It's like the dollar index. It's like the volatility index in the stock market. It's it's something you can't really trade, but it still tends to respect technical analysis to some degree. Okay, so and that gets proven very well on this chart with the 4 hour 200 MAs, right? How it acts as local tops and local bottoms multiple times, especially recently in the past couple of months, right? So take it with a grain of salt, but also, you know, absorb this information and keep that in the back of your mind for sure. Okay. Um, I think ETH BTC is worth talking about right now. And then I think we will move on from that. So ETH BTC currently retesting the 200 daily moving averages, and there's so much confluence in this region. You guys will see. So we have a daily demand zone right at 0.03 sats roughly. Okay, and we also have the 200 daily moving averages also in that region, right? So then we also have the 4 hour 200 moving averages in that region. Okay, so tons of confluence here on your higher time frames, right? So could potentially see a much bigger reversal here, and I say much bigger as in context, right? Because this is trading in the 4% range for the past month. So 4% move is a bigger move in context when you put things into perspective. So potential for a reversal, but really what you don't want to see is us lose all these support levels. Okay, so that's the only thing. All these supports, these MAs, the daily demand zone, all this stuff is holding up ETH right now. So we lose all that stuff, and you all of a sudden open up the gate to potentially head back down to these lows. Okay, where you have your next daily demand level. Right, so that would be like a 12% drop after losing all your supports. Okay, so that happening would likely send altcoins spiraling. ETH BTC pairing is typically a good basis of how the altcoin market is performing in general, right? So when you pair that with the dominance chart and with whatever you're using to assess altcoins, right? When you're actually looking at the individual altcoin, you're also taking into account how ETH BTC looks, and you also take into account how Bitcoin dominance looks. Merging all those things together can give you a pretty solid idea of how altcoins are going to perform just in the market across the board, right? So this would be heartbreaking for altcoins. If ETH BTC pairing lost all of these support levels, that would be awful. And then essentially what you want to see is a breakout of this consolidation, right? So up until I would say about here, we have a very clean consolidation market structure. So you have your low, you have a lower high, higher low, lower high, higher low, right? So essentially, you need to see price break above this high again, and you need to see it. Well, you could count this as a low. You need to see it hold this low for the time being, right? So it could very well just keep chopping sideways, but you want to see it break this market structure and head up to test these the 1 hour supply zone here, and then from the 1 hour supply zone head up into that daily supply and see some continuation. And that would probably see altcoins pop across the board, right? And then opposite of that, of course, is sending altcoins spiraling. So that's everything that I wanted to talk about. Thomas wants me to take a look at Monero BTC, so we'll do that really quick. All right. So Monero BTC looks pretty solid. Came off these lows, nice reaction. Now we're head first into the 200 daily moving averages, right? So potentially closing this daily candle above them would be pretty good. Would see, that opens up the daily resistance to our next daily resistance is 0.01, really. Potentially have some daily resistance here as well. Should mark this. Right, so technically speaking, you close your daily candle above these 200 daily moving averages. Your next daily resistance is this supply zone we just drew up here, right? So it's about a 15% difference from where our 200 daily moving averages are currently. So daily chart looks promising. 4 hour, this is a clear bullish market structure, right? Higher highs, higher lows. We've tested the 4 hour 200 moving averages, managed to hold them as support, see a nice push up. There's some 4 hour demand here. You could even go back as far as here. So we didn't quite pull back into that 4 hour demand zone, but front ran it a bit, saw a nice push up again. Is there some lower time frame resistance I'm missing here? I think that might be a reach. I was gonna say draw this, maybe here. Nah, I don't like it. And as far as hourly, strong uptrend, I would say your hourly 200 MAs are probably a strong buy as of right now, especially. But how likely is that since this is trending bullishly on every time frame? 6% drop, not very likely. If it did see a volatile move down into these MAs within the next day or two, maybe nice confluence there, so that would be a pretty clean setup. Long, maybe the 1 hour 200 MAs are all the way up here now, and then I would simply just look to put my stop loss below, right? Because that's our 4 hour demand that we just drew out. So you lose that, probably see a much bigger sell off, and target that daily supply that we just talked about. right? And that would be a 4R trade. So if this did pull back, I would look to take something like this. This would be a pretty clean setup. Obviously, if we moved straight down into it now, that would be ideal too. I wouldn't see anything wrong with that. So assuming we just sell off directly into here, it's a great trade. I would look for that bounce. I would look to buy the dip, but I'm assuming that's probably not going to happen considering this is very bullish market structure, right? So higher highs, higher lows. So I wouldn't anticipate that happening, but I would definitely look for that, uh, just a clean, simple pullback and potentially a higher low still. And maybe our 1 hour 200 MAs have moved up some, and then we can take a long setup on those, stop loss beneath, and look to target that daily supply. I think this is a clean chart, clean setup. It looks strong. Breaking the 200 daily moving averages, so it has the potential to run pretty hard into that next daily resistance. So yeah, I would definitely look for something like this. This looks good. So Thomas, I know you're not watching right now, but hopefully this helps. All right. Anything that you guys want to take a look at, or if there's some on-demand TA that I haven't been able to get to. Looks like JC was doing some earlier. Nothing you guys want to see from me? Come on, there's got to be something. There's not a single coin that interests you right now. It's got to be. Take a look at my watch list here. ETH USD, what's that looking like? So this is a Bybit chart. So ETH USD might be some demand in this region. 1 hour 200 MAs. I think this looks like a good long. Similar to the Bitcoin long that we're taking, I think this has potential as well. Where you see a pullback, I think this might have been the dip. So, maybe we don't get it, maybe we do. But I would say, a stop loss here or even here would be ideal. And then I think you could target, I don't have it drawn, but we have weekly resistance at, I'm going to eyeball it. I believe it's somewhere like over here. Right. And then I would just look to target that weekly resistance. That's a 2R trade. That could be a nice scalp. If you front run it a little bit, make it this stop loss, which is just a little bit pushing it. It's still very valid trade. I would say this looks like a nice scalp you could take for ETH USD, and it's pretty much the exact same setup as our BTC long that's on the site at the moment. So Link, what is Link looking like? Oh, SNX USDT. Yeah, sure. Link on these higher time frames doesn't look terrible, I would say. We are testing daily supply at the moment. I think we flip this and we probably head up to take some liquidity at this $17 region, right? Because that's untapped. And what's our market structure? It's bullish, right? So you have low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, right? So all the way. So if you're depending on how you look at this, you could say lower low, lower high, lower low, right? The way I see it is high, low. So I would look for that higher high. Both are valid, ways to look at it. It's all context. It's the way you want to see things. I stopped doing that. Currently testing 4-hour 200 MAs, so that goes with our analysis, right, that we just said. So reclaim the supply zone, probably head up to take out some higher liquidity. I think this looks solid if you see something like that. And then in that case, I would look to buy the retest. And assuming that this is the local low and we head up and reclaim that region right now with this low put in, we don't go lower, I would put my stop loss below this low, look to target daily supply. 3-hour trade. Not bad. SNX USDT, look at that. Zoom out a bit. Anything for me here on the daily? Maybe. I would say daily supply there. And then daily supply at your all-time highs as well. Just reclaimed 4-hour 200 MAs. Market structure is consolidation. Right, so I would anticipate the lower high to get put in, and then potentially look for that pullback into your 4-hour 200 MAs again. And this could very well be the lower high that we're looking for. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I would say look for the lower high. Try to get in on the 4-hour 200 MA pullback retest, and then look for that breakout. Or, say we don't put in that lower high and we actually put in a higher high, that would be a breakout of this supply zone. And in that case, you could play the breakout as well. Right? So play the breakout or anticipate the consolidation to lower high, pullback, higher low, and then anticipate the breakout of the consolidation. Right? So if you don't get that pullback, you get a 4-hour trade essentially on the breakout. If you do get the pullback, you get a 4-hour trade on buying the retest of 4-hour 200 MAs and anticipating a higher low, because that's what your market structure is: higher lows and also lower highs. So that's the way I could see you playing SNX. I think this looks pretty solid. Let's see, what does that 1 hour look like? Yeah, so 1 hour, about what you expect. Since that 4 hours is reversing, this is an uptrend. So that the 1 hour 200 MAs actually line up nicely with the region we said to buy on the 4-hour. So nice confluence there, assuming that it pulls back soon. If it doesn't pull back soon, these 1 hour 200 MAs will probably have moved up quite a bit. Let's see, Shroomer, can't see chart. Why can't you see my chart? What's going on there? All right, XRP USDT. Yeah, sure. Binance. Okay, so let's see here. I think this is probably 4-hour support and some 4-hour levels. I do have some weekly levels that we should probably mark out if possible. Let's see. The USDT chart is actually quite different than the USD chart. We'll just zoom into the 4-hour, since that's what matters right now anyways. All right, so yeah, so this is 4-hour support or 4-hour demand, however you want to look at it, right? And then 4-hour support line. So we have 4-hour demand, 4-hour support. We're also testing the 4-hour 200 MA/EMA, right? Kind of pinching in between. I would say longing this is not ideal, right? Because you're getting a very strong downtrend. It's not like we kind of, it's not like here where you're trending bullishly and you fall into this demand level, it's much different because you're trending bearishly into your demand level, right? So there's context in that. It's much different context, much different feel for the market. So it's quite different. Um, so I wouldn't say it's ideal to long this right now because your market structure is bearish. There's not much telling you that this looks good, but this is very much a reversal play. So as most reversal plays, it offers pretty great RR. Okay, so you can essentially long at current price, really, because we're at support, and put your stop loss below this wick, right? Because if we go below that wick, we're probably, we've gone below the 4-hour 200 MAs, we've gone below the 4-hour demand. So we're probably going to look at a bigger breakdown if we do lose all those support levels and we do stop you out. But your target, you could target pretty high. So simply just targeting this supply zone again is a 1.7R trade. And then I would say target, there's some supply here on lower time frames. So then you could target that. It's 3.4R. And then you could target the all-time, or I'm sorry, not the all-time high, but the local high, right? So 7R. And then I would say you could even target the 1.618 fib. So that would be that high to this low, which would give you 98 cents. So it's not the highest quality trade, but if you take enough of these and you get one or two of them to hit, um, it'll make up for all the losses that you took. So it's lower probability, right? Because this is trending bearishly into our support level rather than just a quick pullback into our support level and continuation of a bullish trend, right? This is bearish trending into our support. But your invalidation is pretty clear. I think it's pretty clean. We lose the 4-hour 200 MAs, we lose the demand zone. We're probably going to look at a much deeper pullback. So I would say, is it worth it? You kind of have to throw that up to yourself. Personally, I won't touch this. I don't like reversal plays, but it's there. It most definitely is there, I would say. The safer way to play it is to just simply wait for a reclaim of your 1-hour 200 MAs and wait for a reclaim of that lower time frame supply zone. In which case, then you could look to play the exact same setup, but your stop loss is up here and your entry is 57 cents instead of current price. That's the safer play. Both ways are valid though. CTK USD. All right. Not enough price action for me on the daily. We'll zoom in. Sitting on support for a while, yeah, I would agree. This looks like some demand to me. Looks like a clean support level. I would say there's supply here. And where else? Some supply here. And then there's probably supply here, but it doesn't matter too much at the moment. So 1 hour kind of shows us how much this is testing the support level. At support for a while, yeah, you're not exaggerating at all when you said that. It's been sitting at support for 4 days now, continuously testing it, equal lows and lower highs, right? So I wouldn't touch this, to be quite honest with you. I do not touch stuff like this. It seems to me like this support is bound to give out eventually, right? So what I would kind of want to see in order for that, to be a realistic thought is price acceptance within the support level, and then that would make me think this thing's going to sell off pretty hard, right? So equal lows is never something you want to see for something that you're trying to go long on. It seems to me like this demand level is going to um, give out eventually. I would feel much more comfortable just waiting for it to show some sort of strength and reclaim some, 1 hour 200 MAs, maybe even reclaim this supply zone, and then we can look for a much bigger move upwards. I would say that's the go-to play here, um, personally. Right, so very much downtrending on every time frame, every single time frame. So are we at support? Yeah. Is this, does it make sense to buy support? Yeah, of course it does. But context again, it's the same support level being bought one, two, three, four, 5 times now, and we're continuously making lower highs with you know, each buyback. I would say just wait for some sort of strength. Wait for something to happen. So probably some 15-minute supply there. So you could even just wait for a 15-minute 200s to get reclaimed, and that 15-minute supply to get reclaimed. And I would say that's your best bet is to wait for some sort of strength rather than buy a support region that's been bought 5 times already. Hopefully that helps. Ion USDT. All right, look at that. I cannot type today. Hold on. Let's see. What is the setup that we drew? Oh, oh, look at that. We said breakout retest of the 200 daily moving average and that supply zone, and we would look to get long into the 200 daily moving average as well as the next daily supply. So that was a valid setup, and that's what we saw actually. So that entry trigger would have came into play. I don't know if we drew it back here. I don't think we did. I don't even know if I started streaming on November 25th. But so I'm gonna go ahead and assume that we drew that potential setup. We're looking for that breakout retest of a 4 hour, or this might be daily supply, either one of that supply zone. Got the pullback, got the retest. So now this entry triggers. Now this is a valid trade that you would look to take. Breakout pullback, retest of daily demand zone, right? Because now we've broken above it as supply. We're testing it as demand. So past Mercury said long here into the next daily supply, and I agree with him. I think this looks like a valid setup that you could have taken. So back to the daily. Okay, so we'll delete this. But with that, we are testing the 200 daily moving average, right? So you want to see a daily close above that. And then at that point, your next daily resistance isn't until that target that we had at 11 12 cents region. All right, so you could even do the exact same setup but on the 200 daily moving average and look for a tighter stop loss on some lower time frames. But overall, this looks good. We did flip that region into support thus far. Okay, am I speaking preemptively? Possibly, because look what happened here, right? So I think it looks good. Let's see if our lower time frames help us out. Not exactly. Even if you ignore this daily demand, we also have hourly demand, right? So retest SR flip of an hourly demand zone. Now we're consolidating against support, right, on lower time frames. So higher lows, lower highs, consolidation, whichever way this breaks, probably determines, is this a fake out and we head back down to, potentially test the 1 hour 200 MAs again, or is this a breakout and we, our 200 daily moving average is like there. So do we break out of the consolidation, break out of the 200 daily moving average, and then from there head up into that next daily supply, which is 20% upwards, right? So even if you don't, or even if you didn't get in on that pullback retest, I would say, you could then long a breakout retest on a lower time frame, right? Because this black line is essentially acting as our 200 daily moving average. So if we see a breakout of the consolidation, right? So high, high. So now you break above this high here. You're breaking out of the consolidation. You probably break out above the 200 daily moving average with that lower time frame momentum on your side as well, right? So then you can look for another setup with buying the retest of the 200 daily moving average with a stop loss below, some hourly support. Maybe we form a low here, right? So then you can put your stop loss just below it, you know. But Ion USDT, I would say it looks good, right? But be cautious. We are at that 200 daily moving average right here, right now. So unless you got in from below and you're anticipating that breakout and you're comfortable right now because price is so far away from your entry and you're sitting comfortable in profit right now, I would say wait for this sort of setup to develop before making a move on it, right? If you didn't get in on that pullback retest. So looks good at resistance, to sum it up. Acro USDT, I really cannot type today. What a shame. All right. And not enough price action for me here on the daily. 4 hour is consolidating somewhat against the 4 hour 200 MAs, but, you know, without trying to justify anything with any support levels or anything, this is simply consolidation market structure, right? So if you see a breakdown below this low, even though it's a 4 hour 200 MA retest, that shows weakness to me. Even though you would be at support, I would anticipate, again, a lower high to follow, and then, excuse me, and then potentially look to test that 4 hour 200 MA. But as of right now, still very clean consolidation market structure, higher lows and lower highs. Okay, so again, these reversal plays where it's downtrending into support or it's consolidating into support, um, they're not ideal. They're not ideal. But if you take enough of them, you'll get one or two of them to break out your way, and they usually provide such a high RR that it'll make up for all the losses that you took on the ones that didn't go your way. Right? So even though this is not ideal, I would still say the setup is there if you want it. Because your target, assuming that this consolidation breaks upwards, is, you know, the the golden pocket fib would even be a decent target, and that's a 6R trade alone, right? So then assuming you break the golden pocket fib, you probably head for that all-time high again. Is that all-time high? Yeah, it is on this chart, and maybe it's not on another exchange, but so you probably head up for gold or for all-time high again, and then at that point you're reversing, you have so much momentum on your side. 1.618 is not, you know, unimaginable by any means. So 16R trade. So if you take 10 16R trades and one of them hits, you made 6R profit. But this is definitely not ideal. With that, let's mark out some supply zones as well. So there's supply there. That was just very obvious. Didn't make sense for me to not mark it out. And there's supply here as well. It's probably an hourly zone. So delete this. Delete the fib too. But as I said, higher lows, right? So all of a sudden, if you get that higher high, you've then broken out above this demand or this supply zone, turned it into demand. You've also broken out of your 1 hour 200 MAs. So again, waiting for the consolidation to break your way and then looking for that reversal and continuation of that break in market structure, that is the safer play. Right? So assuming you enter here on the breakout pullback, you target that zone, stop loss below, 3.5 R trade. Cool. Oh, mic doesn't work. Probably gone over Ocean BTC. All right. Sorry, I did not see that one. But I will go over Ocean BTC. Sure how I missed that. All right. Probably some supply there. So that would be daily supply. And I would argue daily supply here as well. And if we zoom in the 4 hour, let's see how well that gets respected. Okay, so pretty well. I'm happy with that. Support, 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 resistance, 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 right? Anything else that I see? I like these wicks. Come down to exactly the same region. Bearish retest them as resistance. Nice sell off. So again, similar to, I can't remember what coin it was, but it was just a couple charts ago, and we're looking at the exact same thing where we have equal lows and lower highs, right? So for pattern traders, for all you pattern traders that are watching this right now, you would try and draw some sort of descending triangle. Why is that green? What is going on here? That's how much I use trend lines, guys. Right, so pattern traders typically look for some sort of descending triangle almost. For me, it's not as much necessarily I need like a trend line to show me that we have a descending triangle. I'm simply just looking at the market structure, right? So a descending triangle is, for those of you who don't know, all right, we'll do descending triangle. Those of you who don't know, is something that looks like this, where you have equal lows and you're getting lower highs, and it's a bearish pattern where you're looking for a big breakdown, right? So, in layman's terms, a descending triangle is lower highs with equal lows. And essentially, what's that trying to represent? That's trying to represent buyers getting exhausted buying the same exact region over and over and over again, and every time they buy it, the buyback is getting weaker and weaker because sellers are willing to step in sooner each time that support gets hit. Okay, so that is the idea there. And this is exactly what I'm looking at for this, right? We're continuously getting lower highs and equal lows. So is there support in this region? Yeah, it's hard to argue that there isn't support, right? Every time that region gets tapped, we see some sort of a buyback, right? But sellers are willing to step in sooner each time. So it looks to me as if this support level is going to get exhausted and we create a new all-time low for Ocean BTC. So again, these reversal setups, guys. I mean, you can find 1,000 altcoins that look like this, and if you nail a reversal on any of them, they're gonna pay out pretty big. Is this a valid setup? Yes, it's classified as a reversal trade. It very well could work out in your favor. It makes sense technically. You're buying something at support with a stop loss below. Your invalidation would tell you new all-time lows. And if we do start to get that momentum and break out of this downward market structure, then it's very likely that price will see some sort of momentum shift upwards. Okay, because we've broken out of this consolidation, or we've broken out of the uh, descending triangle sort of market structure, right? So high RR payout, but unlikely, just structurally speaking, unlikely. Again, I sound like a broken record, but you are better off waiting for these levels to get reclaimed. So the level that I would watch for, I don't think our 4 hour helps us. No, it doesn't really help us. I would mainly just use the 4 hour as of right now for some targets. So I would target the 4 hour 200 MAs. But on the hourly, I will say, if you reclaim that that daily resistance that we drew out, right? So if you reclaim here and you reclaim here, now all of a sudden you have a nice momentum continuation play where you're just looking for a quick 4R, you're just looking for a quick bearish retest of your 4 hour 200 moving averages. And that's a 4R trade, right? So it's not as nice as our 8R trade that we just drew up, but the probability is much, much higher. Hopefully that helps. AVE BTC just hit target. Let's take a look at that. How do you even spell this? There we go. BTC. All right. AVE BTC. Let's see. What did my coworkers see on this chart? I'm not sure where I want to draw this demand or supply zone. Sorry. I would say that's supply. So we're heading up into it now. So it makes sense that they're taking profit now, right? I would say. Let's jump into the 4 hour. So let's look at. All right. Now that we got some levels marked out. All right. AVE BTC, nice trade. Hit target. Looks like we got in either on the 4 hour 200 MA. I don't have my Signal Profits website pulled up, so I can't really see. But if you guys want to tell me what our entry was and whatnot, that'd be great. But I'm assuming, if JC sent this out, I would assume he probably bought the 4-hour 200 MAs, because me and him trade the same thing. We watch the same levels. If Nasser sent this out, which I think is more likely, I'm not sure what he could have bought. But nice reversal play again on support, testing 4-hour 200 MAs. Looks like it broke our 1-hour market structure this morning, broke out of the 1-hour 200 MAs this morning, and directly into this 4-hour supply. Okay, so it's nice that they locked in profit. I'm sure soon, potentially, if it's JC's trade, he'll probably move stop up. If it's Nasser's trade, he likes to let things run. But this is looking pretty good so far. If we flip this supply zone, pretty hard to debate against a move back up into this higher up supply. I would think it's very likely if we flip this region, and that is a setup in itself. Right? So you would look for some sort of structure here where maybe price forms a low. Maybe we come back, pull back here, form a low, and you can move your stop. Really you can move it up below that low. But as of right now, make sure you guys lock in profit on this if you didn't have take profits layered already. At resistance, so take profit one hit and looking for that bigger flip of this SR zone, the supply region, for potentially much bigger move up. Good stuff. All right, guys. Do you have any other tickers that you want to see? Anything else? Took a look at some altcoins. Atom USDT. Sure. Binance. Let's see, what do I have drawn here on the daily? Okay, so daily supply. We crack the daily supply, probably head up to test the next daily supply. Recently tested 200 daily moving averages. Market structure is bullish as of September. So daily market structure bullish, currently at daily supply. Buying these daily 200 moving averages would have been ideal. Looks like we are attempting to reclaim 4-hour 200 MAs. So at this point, I would say if you reclaim these 4-hour 200 MAs, meaning we simply just close another 4-hour candle above them, probably going to reclaim the daily supply. And then from reclaiming your daily supply, probably head up to test the next daily supply. Right? So if you want to dumb it down on a lower time frame, right? Simply watching this region here, right? So 4-hour close above 4-hour 200 MAs probably leads to a move up in here. And then if you move above that, probably look to take some profit at these highs, potentially even the next daily supply zone. So is there a setup here? The RR might not be great. Okay, so there's no setup from here to here. .8R. I think this looks solid. I think this could be good. daily market structure is bullish, so it tells me higher highs. So I think that's a safe trade. But I would definitely look for that 4 hour to close yet. Or still, I wouldn't look to enter right here, right now, because it very well could be a wick and we start trending downwards. Oh, the 1 hour 200 MAs acted as the local bottom. That's always nice to see. That would have been a good setup. Just simply longing into this supply region. I think this looks good. Trending bullish on every time frame. Currently attempting to reclaim those that 4 hour 200 MA. And I would look for a bigger move up. $5.65. Break that, I would say, market structure tells us higher high. So I would say test of the supply zone, 650, 650, 660, somewhere around that region. Looks good. All right, guys. It doesn't look like anyone else has some more tickers for me or anything you guys want me to take a look at. So I will go ahead and end the stream here. All right. So next live stream Wednesday. I'm not sure what time yet. We'll announce that couple hours before. But hopefully this live stream helped you guys. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me, and we will talk later. All right. Peace out, guys.